Hi again, everybody. Bill Phillips here on a Wednesday, and it is a big Wednesday, hump day, middle of the week, ready to go. The Ohio Valley, sunny right now. Could get some rain later. Kind of a mixed bag today. Early, it should be decent. Should be good. Tie's a little crooked. Is it crooked? No, this way. There we go. Well, that'll work. So a big day, and a day, I'll tell you what, that started last night for me, because at about 4:30 in the afternoon, give or take, Major League Baseball drops a surprise announcement on everybody. I don't think anybody saw it coming. If you were in the know, you were in the know, but it wasn't many people. Rob Manfred, the commissioner of Major League Baseball, basically took Pete Rose, Shoeless Joe Jackson, the other 7 players of the 1919 Chicago White Sox scandal, an owner, a former coach, off the ineligible list, the permanent ineligible list for Major League Baseball. Now, all of those players, coaches, and Pete Rose, Shoeless Joe Jackson, they were on that list because of gambling in some form or fashion, whether it was accepting a bribe, throwing a game, or betting on baseball. But they were removed, making them eligible, according to the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York, for induction to Major League Baseball's, well, not Major League Baseball, but Baseball's Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York. Now, celebration for Pete Rose fans, celebration for his family, his attorney. Kind of. It comes 8 months after Pete Rose died. So apparently that's what has to happen if you want to get off of that list. So the lesson is still being learned, I'm sure, by some, or it's still being taught by Major League Baseball, that if you gamble, if you're a Hall of Fame eligible player or could be in the Hall of Fame, somebody that has the numbers to do it, Pete Rose definitely does. Shoeless Joe Jackson, everybody says he does. Then you're eligible to go to the Hall of Fame now, but you're dead. So you don't get to enjoy it. You know, as everyone said, maybe watching down from heaven or wherever their station is after their passing. So, they're eligible, and 2 guys right off the top that you think of, they would probably be Hall of Famers. But now they have to wait at least a few years. Classic Era Baseball Committee will meet in December of 2027, and they will make a vote on whether or not they will be able to get into the Hall of Fame. You know what's a Hall of Fame business in the Ohio Valley? You know what I'm going to say. It is Valley Converting. Hall of Fame all the way. If you have paper products that you're looking to recycle, take them to Valley Converting. In the Gem City, T-Town, Toronto, Ohio. Mike Biasi and the crew, all Hall of Famers, all getting it done for you, making sure that they take care of your paper products. If you need some papers that maybe are personal records and you don't want anyone to see them, take them to Mike. He'll take care of them. No one will ever see them again. And on top of that, they'll be turned into something that is of value. They'll get a new life. They'll be turned into maybe some cardboard, backing for cardboard. So it's something where you can help the environment. You can get rid of some records you don't want anymore, you don't need anymore, but you don't want anyone looking at them. Well, Mike Biasi and the crew at Valley Converting can help you out.
Every piece of paper has a story. What if that story didn't end when you were done with it?
At Valley Converting, we turn your old paper products into recycled paperboard, continuing the story.
Locally owned and operated in Toronto, Ohio, bringing your paper to Valley Converting isn't just about recycling.
It's about supporting a cleaner, greener future for all of us.
We are here 5 days a week to help you make some green by going green.
And remember,
recycle for your future.
Again, thank you very much to Valley Converting for all that they do for us here at the 9-Minute Phill-Up. We greatly appreciate it. And again, if you need anything, call up Mike Biasi, Valley Converting in Toronto, Ohio, T-Town, the Gem City, and they will take care of you. So we'll talk more about Major League Baseball in a moment, but we like to do our National Day. We're not going to get as deep as we normally would into it because of the other things that are going on. But first, I have to wish my mother-in-law happy birthday. Diane, happy birthday. Enjoy the day on this May 14th. Happy birthday. We kind of did a combo celebration, Mother's Day and birthday already, but you don't want to forget. So May 14th, happy birthday to Diane. Diane, happy birthday. Love you. And now some third shift workers day. And I'll tell you what, I did that for a little bit in college, working that overnight from like 11 to 7 in the morning. Yeesh. It's a rough one. It's a rough one. Did it at a convenience store when I was in school. So respect to all those that do that. And how about this one? Dance like a chicken day. Yeah, if you're just feeling it, dance like a chicken. Well, get the shoulders going, get the arms going, dance like a chicken. Everybody does that. The chicken dance at weddings. The chicken dance at weddings, you could do that. Why not? Get a little flap going. It reminds me, it's kind of like Joe Morgan, teammate of Pete Rose back in the day when he would hold up the bat and they flap his arm like a chicken, get his shoulder and everything just right before he hit. And for a few years, he was as good as it got in Major League Baseball. But dance like a chicken day. Maybe get the head going a little bit, the whole thing. Have some fun with it. Have a good time today. And then buttermilk biscuit day. Buttermilk biscuit day. I'll tell you what, don't have them very often. But you get a good biscuit. Whew. That's some good stuff. Put a little butter, a little warm, a little butter. Just let that butter melt into it. So hopefully if you like buttermilk biscuits, today is your day to get after a buttermilk biscuit, and why not? Brian checking in. Think it's wrong to keep him out. People have done worse than him that are in baseball. Talking about Pete Rose, maybe talking about Shoeless Joe Jackson. And so we finished with this one for our national days, Brian. Decency Day. Apparently Major League Baseball tried to be a little bit decent yesterday with their ruling to permanently or take Pete Rose, Shoeless Joe Jackson, the other players from the 1919 Black Sox scandal that threw the World Series, took some bribes. They are now eligible for Hall of Fame voting if they are good enough to even be looked at. Shoeless Joe Jackson, Pete Rose will be. It'll be interesting. 2027 is the first time the Classic Era Baseball Committee meets again. And it'll be an interesting question. Shoeless Joe Jackson, 356 lifetime hitter, which I believe, if I read that correctly, maybe fourth highest all time. And now in the World Series that he threw, or is alleged to have thrown the games, and he claimed he never did, he hit 375. Buck Weaver, who played third base, he said, I never took anything. I didn't take a dime. I didn't, and you see him in the Field of Dreams. You see them both in the Field of Dreams when they're, Shoeless Joe Jackson comes back. 8 Men Out, good movie. A little bit dark, but it's a good movie in terms of just the way they shot it. But interesting stuff. 356 lifetime, 375 in the World Series for Shoeless Joe Jackson, and everybody said, the expression was his glove was where triples went to die. He was that good of a fielder. So it'll be interesting to see if either one of them can get in. And Rob Manfred permanently took them off Major League Baseball's permanently ineligible list. And the reason why, their threat to the integrity of the game is gone. So basically, like I said, if you die, you're off the ineligible list because you're no longer a threat to Major League Baseball. Now, Pete Rose didn't do himself any favors. He didn't do himself any favors. He'd go and sign autographs and do all this stuff at Cooperstown when they were having Hall of Fame weekends, go to Vegas, do all that stuff. Was outspoken, he couldn't help himself. He wanted to be in so badly, but he couldn't. They couldn't let him. He wanted to be friends with Major League Baseball. I get where Major League Baseball was because Pete Rose was basically a loose cannon when he'd do interviews. And it was like, Pete, stop talking. Just be quiet. Just sit back and maybe Major League Baseball will give you that chance. But instead, they didn't. They waited till he was gone, and now he's eligible. Now, the interesting thing that I saw last night, Tim Kirkchin, who works for ESPN, all-everything writer of Major League Baseball, he said he was on one of the committees with Frank Robinson, a former teammate of Pete Rose, and he told the story last night on one of the ESPN, I think it was one of the sports centers early in the evening, and he talked about how hard it is for players to get votes on that classic era baseball committee. He said that Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, both Hall of Fame numbers, Hall of Fame careers, no doubt about it. Steroid scandal, were they on it? Not, yes, no, it didn't matter. They need to get, I think that he said there's 16 people that vote on the committee. They need to have at least 12 of those votes go their way. Neither one of them got more than 4. And it was less than the percentage they had gotten on Hall of Fame ballots with the writers. They were getting about 65% of the vote, and they were coming up short. People thought, oh, they'll get this committee. And Frank Robinson, I guess they had a conversation about Tim Kirkshin and how they voted. And Kirkshin said, I would probably vote Pete Rose in. He'd always maintain that. And Frank Robinson just wasn't having it. He said, you got to be kidding me. He committed the number one sin of baseball. He bet on the game. Can't do it. So it'll be interesting to see who's on the committee and how they feel about Pete Rose, because a lot of people in the game, there's no way you can't respect Pete Rose's game. The numbers are ridiculous. He was the Rookie of the Year. He won an MVP. He won 3 batting titles. He had 2 Gold Gloves. He won 3 World Series championships. Rose had a batting average, lifetime average of 303. Anything over 300, I mean, it's ridiculous. Led Major League Baseball in hits with 4,256. Games played, 3,562. At-bats, 14,000 at-bats. 14,053 at-bats. Singles, 3,215. And outs, made the most outs in Major League Baseball history, 10,328. And he also made sure that everyone knew this. Winningest player in Major League Baseball, has the most wins when he was playing in the game, 1,972 wins. So the numbers are there. It's not even a conversation. And basically for Shoeless Joe Jackson, it's the same thing as well. There's not a conversation. In terms of, do they have the qualifications to be in the Hall of Fame? Absolutely. Absolutely. Should they be in the Hall of Fame? That's the question. And everybody's got a different opinion on it. They cheated. They cheated the game. They bet on the game. Number one thing you're not allowed to do, bet on the game. Number one, over everything else. PEDs wasn't even a thought back with Shoeless Joe Jackson. So, that wasn't a thing, but gambling was. And apparently back then in the 1910s, it was pretty rampant. So, it wasn't like that was the first time that anyone had gambled on a game that was a player, but the whole team was caught up in it. So, and Shoeless Joe Jackson was the biggest star. But again, he hit 375 in the World Series, 356 lifetime, but they are no longer a threat to the game. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like, okay, great, they're no longer here, they can't enjoy the reward? Maybe that's the punishment. Maybe that's the punishment. You can get into the Hall of Fame if you get the votes, but you're not going to be here to enjoy it. You had all that time to make the right decisions when you were here. Now you're not going to enjoy it because you're not here, but your family can enjoy it. So it'll be interesting to see if they can get in, because those votes apparently are very difficult to get. But again, these 2 players, and here's one of the other things. Here's a question for you. And I guess I struggle. Hall of Fames, it's neat. You go and see them and all those things. You know who your favorite player was. You know who the great players were. How did Ashland do in the playoffs? They from what I understand, I'll have to double check with Jordan. She is off today. But from what I understand, they lost. They were eliminated. But Brian, I will have that answer tomorrow. My question for you, though, is, and we need an answer now, if you can do that, is, do you think they should be in the Hall of Fame? Would you, or a better question, if you had a vote today, would you vote in Shoeless Joe Jackson, Pete Rose, now eligible again? The big thing that they did was the gambling. Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, steroids, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, those games, those guys. And one of the things I saw the other day, I was watching the movie For the Love of the Game. I had nothing to watch. I was flipping around, happened to see that come up on one of the screens on the stream. So I hit it and was like, all right, I'll watch this. And one of the things he talks about, Kelly Preston's character, the female lead in the movie, they're talking about him pitching and his record and how he had lost 160 games. And she thought that was just awful. And he said, well, that's over 20 years. And she said, well, it seems like all they do, all these numbers. And he said, that's all we do in baseball. Measure everything by numbers. And by the numbers, Brian, you're right. Yes, they should all go in. And this is where, and I can't claim this is my own thought, but Colin Cowherd, who's a national radio and TV talk show host, and I was on a show a long time ago when I was working at PXI in Pittsburgh, and he was doing a radio show out in Oregon, and he called up, wanted to know how everybody felt about the Pitt Panthers switching over from Nike uniforms to, I don't know if it was Adidas or something else or Reebok. I can't remember what it was. But I listened to a few of his shows. One of the things that he said was about the Hall of Fame, whether it be football or baseball or basketball or whatever the Hall of Fame is. It's the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of Pretty Good, not the Hall of Great. It's the Hall of Fame. If you say Pete Rose, everybody knows Pete Rose. Roger Clemens, everybody knows Roger Clemens. Shoeless Joe Jackson, yes, sir. Everybody knows who he is. Now, you have to be a little bit of a historian because some people might not know that, but Barry Bonds, absolutely. Alex Rodriguez. Let's see who else is Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa. All guys that have the numbers to be in the Hall of Fame, because one thing that was an automatic back in the day, if you hit 500 home runs, you were in the Hall of Fame. Still have to put the bat on the ball. Ball has to go over the wall. You're a little bit stronger, and really, it's more about recovery and everything. But that's a whole science discussion on what the PEDs do for you and everything else. But they're illegal in the game. But again, Major League Baseball turned a blind eye when Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa were going for their home run record and everything. McGwire didn't hide. There was a bottle of steroids in his locker. And it wasn't. Yeah, it may not have been the syringe and everything, but it was like everybody knew who it was. Major League Baseball's like home runs, man. We got fans coming back into the seats after we had our lockout. So it's one of those things where it's kind of, you can't have it both ways, but Major League Baseball is going to, because it's Major League Baseball. John Michael, in cases of Rose and Jackson in particular, it is important to note that coming off the permanently ineligible list does not include automatic admission to the National Baseball Hall of Fame, which is a separate entity from Major League Baseball. That is correct. But Jane Forbes Clark of the Hall of Fame came out immediately and basically said that if you were removed from the permanently ineligible list for Major League Baseball, you are automatically eligible for the Hall of Fame. Now, will that actually turn into votes? No. But if you have enough cachet, if you have the numbers, you will, like I said, it's going to be the classic era baseball committee. It doesn't meet until December of 2027. So we would have to wait anyways. But Jane Forbes Clark of the Hall of Fame has come out and said, yes, you will be eligible if you have the numbers. Rose and the other reinstated individuals are now eligible for consideration. Absolutely. Nobody automatically gets into the Hall of Fame. They will go through a voting process to achieve induction. Absolutely, they will. And that induction, like I said, Tim Kirkshin, who's an all-everything Major League Baseball writer, has said that he was on a committee for voting to get people in the Hall of Fame, and people are very adamant about what they believe in and don't believe in. Frank Robinson, who played with Pete Rose, said, no way I'm voting for him, and actually started to scream at him. I was watching this last night. He was telling the story, and he said he did the number one thing that you can't do. And he said, I'll never vote for him to get in. And then Kirkshin said, yeah, I would. So they went back and forth. So it'll be very interesting to see. And he said that Clemens and Bonds received less votes on the classic era committee than they did as from the writers. So they only had 4 votes out of the 16 that they needed. So it'll be very interesting to see how all this goes. But again, if they put if they put Barry Bonds in, if they put Roger Clemens in, if they put Shoeless Joe, Pete Rose, if they put them in, and they already have stuff that's in the Hall of Fame: baseballs, bats, uniforms, MVP awards. So it's not as if you can't go and find them in the Hall of Fame, but you're not going to find the plaque, and that's what everybody wants. But the exhibits and everything else, they'll be there and they'll be mentioned, but they will not have their plaque. They will not be considered a Hall of Famer. If they put them in and on the plaque it said played during the steroid era with an asterisk on it, okay, it's good enough for me. I mean, it's funny. I mean, people are driving around and, Barry Bonds is a Hall of Famer. And then people want to say, well, before he started taking PEDs, I don't know when he took PEDs. I don't know when he didn't take PEDs. Now, did he blow up like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man at one point in San Francisco? He looked a whole lot bigger than he was when he first started in Pittsburgh. Absolutely. And now that you see him out now, it doesn't look quite as big as he did back then. So that's for anybody. You can decide your own thing on that. But in terms of playing and doing it, he did it. Roger Clemens did it. Shoeless Joe Jackson did it. Pete Rose did it. Put an asterisk on their plaque. Pete Rose, number one hit king. He's a hit king. He's this, that, and that. Bet on baseball. Make it something in the plaque or something in the Hall of Fame that recognizes that there was an issue, that he was at one point on the permanently ineligible list, Major League Baseball's permanently eligible list for betting on baseball, and put it on the plaque. I guarantee you Pete Rose wouldn't have cared one lick, because he'd be a Hall of Famer and he would be in the Hall of Fame. Same thing with Shoeless Joe Jackson. And who knows? I don't even think Shoeless Joe Jackson was probably worried about the Hall of Fame, because they don't talk about it like they do now. Everybody knew how good he was and all that stuff. But that's what I would do. Just put it on the plaque, recognize it. Mark McGwire hit 500 and whatever home runs or 600 home runs. He played during the steroid era, was on the ineligible. I don't think he was ever on the ineligible list for steroids. But put it right on the plaque, because it's part of the game. It is part of the game. The whole steroid era of baseball is part of the game. It's not going away. There are other guys that are on suspicion. Big Papi, David Ortiz, he was allegedly in the Mitchell report. He got in, but Big Papi, everybody loved Big Papi. Writers loved him. He had some huge playoff games. Didn't get suspended, but he was in the Mitchell report, basically saying that he may have done steroids. I haven't read the Mitchell report. I have to go back and actually look at it, reread it, but I know his name was in there because a lot of people talked about that. But he's in the Hall of Fame. But I guarantee you, if you put on Barry Bonds' plaque, and I don't even think Barry Bonds probably cares, maybe a little bit in his heart of hearts, like, I'd like to be in the Hall of Fame just because I had the numbers. I was better than everybody else. I mean, Chipper Jones, great third baseman for the Atlanta Braves. They asked him, who's the best baseball player you ever saw? And he said, Barry Bonds, and it's not even close. That's how good he was. But he's not in because of the steroid era and the suspicion about it. Put it on the plaque. Put it on the plaque. Be done with it. All this talk about this, that, who cares? Guy's more home runs than anybody. It's so I'm of the opinion it's the Hall of Fame. I gotta follow Colin Cowherd with that one, because he said it's the Hall of Fame. It's not the Hall of Good. It's not the Hall of Very Good. It's not the Hall of Greats. Hall of Fame. You mentioned those players that we mentioned. Everybody knows them. Stats back them up. Just put on the plaque. Hey, you got caught cheating. You got caught gambling. But they're in the Hall of Fame because they're the best. Pete Rose, the best. More wins than anybody playing games. Most hits, most singles, most, at-bats, most outs. I mean, everything. Shoeless Joe, 375 in the World Series. And he's throwing it? Now, not saying that he didn't take any money, but, and he hit 356. So just recognize it on the plaque and put him in. I mean, enough already. It's ridiculous. And now the thing is, you're going to have to change the way you vote on a lot of players anyways, because 300-game pitchers are not going to happen. That was the automatic standard that you would get in. 500 home runs, 300 wins. You hit over 300 for a lifetime, you put up other good numbers, you probably got a really good shot. But people are not going to have 300 wins just because of the way pitching is now. So they're going to have to change that standard. So anyways, I think if you had to press me, I mean, yeah, I'd put him in. Put him in, and I'd put a big asterisk on it, and I'd put it on the plaque that says, hey. And, Pete Rose, Shoeless Joe, if they do get in, punishment is they have no idea that they got in because they're gone. So, they're no longer a threat to the integrity of baseball. It's kind of harsh. I mean, Pete was in his 80s. Okay, Pete says stuff. But the lesson's being taught. You better, if you have a great career, don't gamble. Don't do steroids because you're not getting in if you have aspirations of being in the Hall of Fame. But for the guys like that we mentioned, at this point, put it on the plaque and put them in because they in terms of baseball, you're talking about some of the best players ever. Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds, Pete Rose. Put the asterisk on there. Put the mention on it. Brian's ready to move on from baseball already. It's not even June. And it's not even Memorial Day, Brian. Can't wait for high school football season. Okay, Brian, I'm just going to say this. I love you. I'll tell you that. Don't rush the summer. Because we only get so many summers. And I know sometimes it might be a little hot, a little sticky, okay. But it's still the summer. It's still the summertime. And it's John Michael and Brian. You guys are on the football right now. John, NFL schedule release tonight, 8 p.m. That is true. It'll be interesting to see who plays when, where, and why. Which team? A lot of people here in the building wondering who the Steelers will play overseas. Looks like Minnesota. So everybody's ready to go. All right. Well, I'm ready to go too. We have to go and put on a midday show. And actually, I told Jamie Baker that I wouldn't be in here this long today. But again, we went our usual time. So I apologize, Jamie, ahead of time. Diane, happy birthday again. And have a great day. Have a great year as it comes up. Everybody else, have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. And remember, 2 rules. Have fun and always try your best. Have a great day, everybody.